Please rise for the pledge led by Commissioner Stokes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
New business. We have a couple of items on the agenda tonight. The first being item number A, which is the appointments to the Charter Review Committee. And I'm going to ask the city manager to take a little lead on this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor and Commissioners, I wanted to point out there was some confusion over this item in particular, especially with the applicants who were interested in this. And going back and going through the process since the May 11th meeting when we had a workshop on this, it seems that the organization, we didn't call and notify the members who are here. So on behalf of the city organization, I want to apologize to the applicants for the late notification, letting you know that this meeting was where you needed to come to be interviewed, and also to the mayor and the commission for that not catching that. That's something that sometimes happens in the organization, and we'll deal with that internally. But I did want to let you know that was something we realized had happened, and we want to apologize to you and to the applicants.
And as a result of that, I'm going to make a couple suggestions. My suggestion, and I've gotten some calls from people that didn't know about it, didn't make the deadline, that sort of thing. My suggestion, and this is just a suggestion, is that the folks that are here tonight, we have the interviews for the people tonight, but we open up the time to apply again to afford folks that did not, and advertise it really the way it was supposed to be advertised. But that, our whole thing is we're trying to be as transparent and open as possible. And I think to just shut it down because there was a glitch in the announcement. So, and I would offer to any of the people that are here tonight, if you want to be interviewed tonight, that's great. If you don't, and you want to come back, we're going to have a second round of interviews. So that's my suggestion. That's until we talk about it. So my thought was that we would, and I spoke with the city manager and the city clerk and the city attorney about this, that we would have whatever interviews want to go forward tonight and then have it advertised. And then I guess the next meeting, have a special meeting prior to the next meeting to finish up the interviews and make a determination. How does that feel to everybody?
I second the non-motion.
Okay.
I have a slight concern too, because I know we have people who applied, but they just couldn't make this specific time.
Right.
So even if we say, okay, we're going to open this back up, we're going to have a second one, and it's another 4 p.m. time, they might not be able to make that one too.
But
so
now Wes is appearing by Zoom. I mean, we have to do, we can, it's not perfect. I mean, we can appear by Zoom. Wes is in, I think, Michigan, and he's appearing by Zoom. So if,
I just would hate to cancel anybody who has a 9-to-5 job because the Charter Review Committee might not be meeting during
you're
those
saying because
hours.
it's 4 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. So do we want to respond to that?
Madam Mayor, if I could, if we push it to another regular scheduled meeting time, most likely it would be after the 6 o'clock period. So that might not be the problem. We've been trying to do the 4 o'clocks because there's
so much. Right.
So I think your point's well founded, Commissioner Stokes, and we'll coordinate closely this time with the applicants to make sure that we get everybody here or make sure that they're available to Zoom.
Right. The other thing I was creatively thinking about, we have, right now we have 8 applicants and we only have 5 slots. And I believe I asked the city staff tonight, why 5? This was something that was done late in the last commission's venue time. And I think they just wanted to, they, for whatever reason, they limited it to 5. The charter is a very basic and very important document, but it's not like a land development regulations. It's not that complicated. Okay. So, and a lot of people want to get involved. And one of the things that we all ran about was getting more people involved. So if we can talk about it, and I think the city could redo the resolution to expand it, to have a bigger committee than the 5.
I know we want a diverse committee.
Mhm.
It's hard to achieve diversity
With 5, right.
5 without starting to say, oh, you fall into this bucket. We already have 3 of those.
Exactly.
You're out.
Exactly.
So I think we do need to broaden the number.
Well, thank you. What's our pleasure?
Yes.
Yes.
I agree with adding more people. I think it's, I think the 5 was because they were doing the assignments,
Exactly.
the appointments. But you have to be careful that we don't go something like 10, and then you get, now they have 5 and 5 people grappling with what to
Well,
put
it has to be
on.
an odd number.
Yeah, so I mean,
Nine.
I think 7 is a good fit.
And this is the thing about the charter review. It's not the kind of committee that like
Right.
historic- They're going to come to us with recommendations. Everybody that's interested in the city is also, we're going to be getting lots of ideas and lots of recommendations. Ultimately, it's the 5 of us that will decide what goes on the ballot.
Correct. I think opening up it's smart.
Yeah, I frankly wouldn't,
I wouldn't have a problem with 9.
Me either.
I wouldn't have a
Go
problem with
bigger than
9.
I want to go bigger than 9.
Yeah, I wouldn't go, I think 9, Herman?
I like that there are a good number interested. 9, 11 is, I would hope, be workable, or we could go to 9 and then the other, if there's more applicants than 9,
Well, we know there's 8 already.
so have an alternate applicate.
Well, yeah, the thing about an alternate though is like,
Vacancies.
it's like,
Yeah.
It's like
I
you-
agree
you
with
got it,
Dalton.
but you
I
didn't.
was one once and it's,
it's not much to it. It's like when you're the alternate juror, they just send you home at the end of the,
Well, but you would participate, you would
The
be
cold
able to
much
participate
bag
in
of chips.
meetings and you would vote if the 9th person
Yeah.
is there.
it seems a little cumbersome.
Yeah.
It's,
I'd go,
It's cumbersome, but I really don't like turning anybody away that's interested in.
I know, and one of the things that I've noticed, because part of what, and I apologize if we're taking a lot of time with this, but we're all pretty new and learning the process. When I look at the different appointments that we have available to us, the different boards, there's not that many opportunities for a citizen to participate. And this happens to be one where it's not, forever. It's got an end date. It's a very important one. And I think one of the things that I would like to see with it is, folks that have not yet been involved with the city. I mean, there's names I haven't seen, and that's really, I think
That's
that's
good.
wonderful.
Fantastic.
So
9?
I'm good with, I think I mean, if alternatives, alternates,
And maybe, do we have to decide, maybe we wait and see, and if there are
do you want to do
only,
that?
Yes,
Okay, is that okay? I'm checking with city attorney. So we'll see what the response is, and then at the next meeting, we'll just go from there. Because everyone, I mean, this is just, it's part of the charter is like, the guide of the city, the future of the city. How are we going forward? Voting things are going to be important. Some things won't be changed, but it's kind of an opportunity also to have people that we don't know each other get together in a committee and talk and get to know each other. I want more people to be involved in the city, than we've had in the past. So let's give direction to staff. Let's be specific. Okay. We're going to open it back up.
Okay.
We're going to properly advertise it. We're going to have the interviews tonight for the folks that want to continue with the interviews, and you're welcome to do that. And then we'll interview the rest of the people at a regular meeting, or
June
maybe
1st.
5:30. You want to do 5:30, Ms. Stokes?
No,
5:30?
I'm okay with 5:30. And if somebody, wants to be the last person interviewed to get here.
They can, right, at 6
5:50,
o'clock.
we should be
And
accommodating.
it's one time, and it's,
Right.
sometimes you just have to take a half hour off from work.
And we're gonna need to know, I guess, I don't know when they figure out the time that's gonna work for everybody.
They'll have to
before.
work. That's their first job. That's their first job.
I'd hate to
I don't want to be in the
get
room.
people and they can't make it. Yeah, okay.
So, so we're gonna, that's the direction that we're going.
Just to add one more thing, we're going to have a draft of the resolution to amend this resolution with the
With the number
With
blank,
9 instead of
with the
5.
number blank until we see the
The
response.
number blank, and then depending on how the interviews go that day, we could have the resolution on for that meeting
same meeting.
and fill in.
Okay.
Okay,
Done.
okay.
that's
Thank you,
great.
Madam
So,
Commissioner.
thank you very much. I
What's
appreciate
the
everyone's,
cutoff for the new applicant.
The new deadline.
I'm looking to the clerk. And she's like, why?
It depends on the meeting.
Okay, so we have agenda review tomorrow for the June 1st meeting, which is massive at the moment.
Right.
Then we have the budget work session on June 3rd. Generally, the first budget work session is pretty quick.
Yeah.
Just saying, because it's just sort of an overview. Then the next is June 15th, regular meeting. We have nothing else
No.
scheduled currently.
Madam Clerk,
Regular meeting.
given the timeframes that we have with the supervisor of elections, is June 15th too late? for us to, because one thing about this, this particular board is that it's going to move really quickly because we have to get the item to the supervisor of elections by like for December, in December,
Yes.
early December. So
Correct.
it's gonna have to meet quickly and efficiently, and that's always a good thing. So are we okay with June 15th then? Or not?
It would give people more time. We could maybe even put something in the paper
Hmm.
in addition to the website, so more people might see it and be aware.
Okay,
So-
And that way we would also have the resolution on that meeting.
okay.
So it's a regular meeting.
So the 15th.
That's
So the
So we'd have the
deadline-
resolution and the interviews all on the same day, and then the resolution would be filled in and finalized when I printed it.
Correct.
When you're
but-
gonna cut
but
off
the
applications.
deadline, right, what's the deadline for them to put we'll have to figure out the deadline for them to put their applications in.
the 9th.
The June 15th meeting, June 7th would be the deadline to have all the information, so that, because the agenda would be printed out on the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th.
Okay, so 3 days before the agenda goes to, so just give us a
7th.
date, just give
Well,
us a.
If we
June
If we
7th.
did June 4th, that's a week from Friday. That would give them a week and a half to get their applications in.
And if we're, maybe perhaps the Lake Worth Herald could put something in the paper about it. Oh, ouch.
He got something in his fingers? I didn't-
I think he's sticky fingers is what he's, so, thank you. We'll work on that. So June 7th would then be the deadline. Correct?
Yes.
June
With
7th
appointments on the 15th.
for the,
Let's just do June 7th, fine.
okay,
June 7th at noon, right?
Yes,
right,
noon 30,
Noon
all
30,
right.
noonish.
beer 30.
So-
It's Lake Worth Beach, noonish.
Noonish.
And just for grins, we might want to advertise it in one of the Spanish language.
Sure. Sure, get the word out. You know, that's one of the things that we really have to improve on, and it's hard. When you, from the outside, you think, well, just get the word out, but then you also have,
Not so easy.
how do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you get the word out? You know, airplanes above the city. So welcome, everybody, and thank you for your interest in applying for this very important committee. We're going to go alphabetically. And we have Wes Blackman, who's going to appear by Zoom, and I don't know if he's ready, and if he's not, we can go to the next person.
He's coming on now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Keith.
That sounds like Wes.
Hello there.
Good evening, Wes.
Sorry, I'm making you dizzy by moving around.
You are making us dizzy, but I'm going to tell you something before we get started. We just had I don't know if you were listening. We had a little discussion amongst ourselves, and we're going to open up the applications, but we're going to open up the applications so that, you know, there are more people that didn't have the opportunity to apply that would like to. And there was a little bit of a glitch in the advertising. So we feel, to be fair and open, we're going to do this, have interviews again on the 15th. So I want to offer you the opportunity either to do it tonight or come back in person on the 15th.
Okay. Well, I'm here. I've made the trouble of.
That's fine.
Yes.
I'm just giving you the option.
So I appreciate having the option.
Okay, so please go ahead. Does anyone, we haven't talked about how this is going to go. Do you have you all thought of specific questions for the applicants, or are we going to leave it open-ended for them to explain who they are and why they want to be on the committee?
Well, I think that is in the app, don't you?
Yeah.
Just in
Yeah.
terms of time.
Yeah.
Should go with specific questions.
Okay.
for Each candidate.
Okay. So when Wes is well known to many of us, so does anyone have a question of Wes? Be quick if nobody.
Oh. Just out of curiosity, what part of the charter are you most intrigued by as far as things that you see as need doing?
Well, the charter, as the mayor said during the preamble there, I did listen to your discussion at the first part of the meeting.
Okay.
And good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Sorry I can't be there tonight. it is it is the constitution of the city, basically. And in my 30 years of living in the city, I've always thought that no one has looked at it seriously since maybe 1954. I'm not sure of the date, but it definitely is time to look underneath the hood of this very important part of the machinery of the city. And I think that specifically, I've always, I've had a dream that we would have more participation and we would be more representative of our diverse community than we currently or have shown on the dais. And I think there are structural ways to get us there. And what I would like to do as part of the committee is have a robust discussion. And I like the idea of having more people as a part of this, because I think that would lend to general support of whatever conclusions or recommendations that we come up with. And one thing that I would not rule out is two things. One is voting in terms of what's called single member districts, but in a strange way. And that would be that we would possibly look at 4 commission seats that would be elected by a proportionate population of the city, roughly geographical in nature as they are now, and then have 3 at-large seats and 1 including the mayor. And there can be unintended consequences and unresolved questions that resolve around that, but at least you are having representation on the dais from people that have a specific interest and were elected by a specific geographic area of residents in the city that may have different needs than people in District 3. Right now, with all at-large seats, you just are representing the people that come out to vote. And is that really representing the people that are in the entire city of Lake Worth Beach? So that's something I would like to discuss.
Thank you.
And just also 2/3 of the budget are the utilities. And I think we might need to look at how the utility is governed. And there are portions of our service area that are not represented on the dais because we have people that have our electric that do not elect our commissioners, and they are charged a fee, and we're not subject to the Public Service Commission. So I think we need to look at that too.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions of Wes?
Are we going to limit the time for each candidate?
You mean tonight?
Yes.
We certainly could do that, and we have a tight schedule. We have 8 people. So, I
To be
mean,
fair.
but how long has Wes been talking? We haven't timed him.
It wasn't about Wes, it was about
No, yeah,
fairness.
I want to be fair.
Yes.
I just have one quick question, and I know that you're self-employed, Wes, but this is going to be a fairly intense meeting schedule because we do have a deadline of the things that need to be accomplished. So will you be able to meet a fairly intense meeting schedule?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Enjoy your time up there in Michigan. Hi to your dad.
Yeah,
We
my dad's
all-
back there. See
We
him?
all see him on Facebook.
Background,
He's waving. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very
All
much.
96 years of him. Okay, thank you.
Safe trip
Yep.
home. Thank you. The next person is Sam Goodstein. And I think timing is a good thing. I think it's a good question, and I don't know how long.
We gotta stop.
Would you like us to come up?
That was about 4 minutes, Mayor.
4, that's fine. Thank
You
you.
want me to set a timer for 4 minutes?
If you would, that would be great. Thank you.
I'd be happy to do so.
Good evening, Ms. Goodstein.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
You have applied to be on the board. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Goodstein?
I think we can ask some more questions. to
Right,
everyone.
sure.
Yeah.
Is there, and I don't need to be the only one talking. You want to ask the question again?
I'll see if I can remember. Are there any particular parts of the charter that interest you most to motivate you to be part of the charter review?
Yes, basically, the descriptions of your jobs. Whether to do voting by district,
that was an interesting idea by Wes. I, coming from a district whose votes are basically close to irrelevant due to turnout, I think that that is the key thing that we're looking at. The way it was set up many years ago is different than how it works now. The intention of how that was set up. Nobody could have predicted the kind of, well, maybe somebody could have predicted the kind of distribution we have right now. But how that works. Also, I think term limits are going to be a factor in the discussion. And I think that one of the things we need to do is get more citizen input on that. Everybody has lots of ideas about it and opinions, and we hear it in most election campaigns. But those are the two things that immediately come to mind.
Great. Now you also are self-employed, and again, you've heard it. I'm going to ask everyone the same question. You know, can you make a fairly intense schedule of meetings?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have one.
Define, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
I just wanted to say that I went through and I read everyone's comments on why you desire to serve on this board. And I love that Sam put, I know the city's future will not look like the past. I know that some things will be lost as other things are gained. I want to help guide the process so it goes smoothly and attention is paid to the possibilities of smart growth, cleaning up the charter where it is cluttered and asking the questions that the public has about it so that the city commission can take action that is needed in a logical step for us to take at this time. Thank you for taking the time to really give your heart in that answer with such clarity. And I want you to know that I appreciated it. I really did.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have to say that having read the charter, there's most of the things are done by ordinance. There are a few key things that are in there, and I don't know if this is normal for charters, but a lot of things are just in the ordinances. And so that's always up to you guys. There may be things that we say, well, the city should have this in its charter. I don't see many of those, but there are a few. The fact that the city manager residency is in the ordinance rather than the charter, that's something to consider. Also, charter review committee is not in the charter.
Right.
Right.
That it may be that the committee will decide to recommend having charter reviews on a regular basis. I don't think the 8-week schedule that the state does is sensible.
It's not adequate for today's time.
No, it's not.
Can we give a little more definition around an intense schedule? Are we talking about once a week, once every other week, twice a
Well,
week?
again, they're going to have to decide that, but
Yeah,
but we have to have a beautifully drafted, vetted by the commission, voted on by the commission to the supervisor of actual ballot to the supervisor of elections by the beginning of December is my understanding. So, and it's not crazy. It's not going to be every week, but I mean, it's not a never ending experience if, and they'll have to see they'll have to suss out how they're going to do their thing, and maybe each will take a topic and come back. They can, communicate, but I would think twice a month.
Twice a month, okay.
Would
So if
be
you
like
asked
the
me
bare
that
minimum.
question, I wouldn't know how to answer it.
I mean, I'm
Because it's the ballot language is what's important
Right.
for us to get right.
Chris?
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask about the ballot language. My experience in the past with dealing with that is it has a very tight limit of 75.
Oh, absolutely. And we've got to do all that.
How does that work? Because let's say that the committee in their wisdom finds 15 items that they want to work on, and each one has 30 words.
It's up to us.
Can the ballot item that's on it refer to another document and say, here's the new charter? Would you like to replace it with, or here's the old?
Or does each thing have to have its own?
How does that work?
There is, Madam Mayor, there's different ways of doing it. And you've seen, I don't know if you've seen some cities where they do sort of repeal a charter, replace it.
Mhm.
You can do that. It kind of depends on what your charter review committee
Right.
decides are its issues in terms of how you respond. Do you do individual ballot questions, or are you looking at a repeal and replacement of the charter?
Both are open.
Right,
Yeah.
both are open. And what I would recommend is if it looks like it's going to be more of a sort of a piecemeal and not like a major lift, that once they get some semblance of ideas that they want to change, they recommend that to you, because what then we need to start doing with staff behind the scenes is wordsmithing everything, because we create these long ordinances that lays out the specific ballot language, and you're absolutely correct, there's a word
Very
count.
tricky.
We gotta make sure it matches the statute. That has to come back to you for 2 readings.
Right.
So what I
Yeah.
think in terms of an intensive schedule is you're looking at ideally beginning of November, having a decision before you about which ones are going forward so that we can do all of the behind the scenes work to have that completed by the middle of December at
So-
the very latest.
Right, so we're really talking about July, August, September, October at the latest, so 4 months
To figure this out.
to figure it out. And at least, I would say, I mean, again, they'll have to figure that out, but I would say at least 2 meetings a month. And they can schedule that whenever they want.
Right, and it can be piecemeal, like you said, although I
Yeah.
feel like almost everyone's gonna want in on the voting stuff, but they can figure that out.
All right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we made you stand there, Sam.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves it.
In the interest of transparency, I would like, because there are other departments that report to the commission. There are others that don't. I would like them to report to the commission their progress at least once a month.
I think that's good.
Sure, we'll report to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. You're amazing.
Thank you, Sam. Next up is Daniel Morgan. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for applying. Well, you've heard the questions, so why don't you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about, we have your application here, but what have you thought about the charter? What,
Well, to me, what stands out the most is the way we elect the commissioners. I believe that, electing or voting within your district is important, although I'd be open to hearing the merits of everybody being able to vote in all the districts. And also, I believe that it's important, and if we want to bring out more voter turnout, that we possibly change the election dates from March to November to coincide with more elections. And yeah, I think those are some of the what I find most interesting or should be addressed within the charter.
okay, now you are a case manager with Youth Co-op.
Yes, ma'am.
Bless your heart, hard work.
Thank you.
Having been there myself many years ago, you've heard the questions about the schedule. It's going to be at least 2, I'm sure, at least 2 meetings a month until the time that we have to get the language. Is that something that you can work with?
Yeah, from what I understand, it's like in the evening
Mhm.
when the,
Generally, I mean, again, you'll decide that, but generally, yeah, it's.
yeah, I can definitely commit to that.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you'd like to tell us?
Well, I'd just like to say that while the 4 years that I've had working as a case manager, I've worked with a lot of people in the community. And I feel that I could help engage more conversation amongst people in the community, especially those who have probably not participated
Mhm.
so much in the past. I've worked with media outlets, Spanish media outlets in the past. And, I would love to be able to bring this conversation to a wider audience here in Lake Worth.
Great. Thank you very much.
I truly appreciate that. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah,
Great.
that's one of our goals as well. We're working hard to get there. Okay, the next one is Upendo Shabazz. Good evening, Ms. Shabazz.
Good evening.
Welcome to our commission chambers.
So again, my name is Upendo Shabazz, and I moved to Lake Worth downtown 5 years ago.
Okay.
And so much of the discussion that I've heard this afternoon has been about community engagement and getting more residents involved. And so that is why I'm here, to get involved. I have grown to love this city, surprisingly, coming from West Palm Beach and working very hard for West Palm Beach. So I'm here to advocate for the charter being changed. I support many of the things that has been said already, but most interested in term limits. I think the last election really got me riled up, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And I think it's important that we get more people involved in civic engagement in the community. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much. I see that you work for a nonprofit.
Yes, Allegheny Franciscan Ministries.
I did not hear you.
Allegheny Franciscan Ministries.
Okay, great. Oh, that says it right there.
Franciscan.
Ministries.
Ministries. I work for nuns, yes.
Okay.
That's nice.
I work for nuns, yes.
What order?
We're the
The
Browns.
Franciscan Sisters of Allegheny,
They don't all dress in habits there, Herman, but
Okay.
yes.
We're the
If I was
ones-
gonna be a nun, I'd want to have it. And the schedule, that my last.
Yes,
question.
I'm very flexible.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next up is, and I want to not mess it, is it Zadi?
Yes.
Zadi?
Zaid, yes.
Zaid.
But I knew it was me when you couldn't pronounce
But
it.
Sage Shamsi
say your name out loud.
Zaid Shamsi Basha.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about the suit and tie. I just came from my first day back at work since the start of the pandemic. So,
You don't have to apologize. for
well, I'm apologizing myself too. It's super hot and it makes no sense now.
That's it. That's Florida.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. You've heard the questions. Do you just want to expound?
Yes, so like a lot of the other applicants have said, I think that there are some structural changes that could be made in the city in order to increase democracy here. I don't think that the current way we have at-large voting benefits the majority of the people in the city. I think it disproportionately benefits just a couple of more represented districts, maybe more affluent districts. So I think that each district should solely be paying the voters for that representative. I also think that COVID has really changed pretty much the way that everything happens, especially voting. So we have, everyone's voting by mail now, which I think is great. There's a new realization that we should do everything we can to help people vote rather than prevent people from voting. And so I think that I can't think of any reason why we should have the elections in March rather than in November with all the other elections. So that's something that's important to me as well.
Yeah, that we've gone back and forth a number of times over the past 12 years back from, I see the clerk shaking her head. We were March, we were back. So that's something that's a robust, and I like Wes's phrase, a robust discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you are an attorney
Yes.
and your schedule?
It's flexible.
Okay. So you'd be able to make it really.
And everything. Yeah, I don't have a kid. I have a dog. So
We're very dog friendly here in Lakewood.
Basset Hound, right?
yes, it is.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, thank you very much. Anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it.
I think it's important we have an attorney participating.
Thank you for
Someone
saying
knows
that,
the difference
Herman.
Between may and must and shall and
There you
all
go.
those words. I think that's important too.
I'm surprised and very happy to hear you say that.
As much as I love attorneys.
I think that's a bias.
Hey, listen, we got to take what we can get. Thank you so much. Okay, next up is Ramsey Stevens. We're doing this alphabetically if anyone had not guessed that yet.
Good evening, honorable mayors.
Good evening, nice,
Honorable Mayor and commissioners.
nice to meet you.
So, as you can see, you're in very good shape with the applicants you have before you. So I'm not sure how much I could uniquely offer at this time, but I will say that I think it's really important that as a committee that we study best practices. We listen to our members, we listen to the community as much as possible, and then we also look around and see what is working and what is not working for other cities.
And you've been involved with the city quite a bit, I think.
I have been a student of the city for quite some time.
And what is quite some time?
I have the distinct pleasure of having, I think, watched every city commission meeting for a good 5 years now. So I have some institutional memory as to what.
I'm just kidding.
That's impressive.
I'm impressed. I'm
I'll
impressed.
tell you a secret though. On YouTube, you can speed up the play rate.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yes, I have paid close attention. There are some areas that I think we really should focus on. Obviously, expanding the franchise and reinvigorating it by, I think, expanding the number of districts as Wes has proposed, and also having some of them be district only is kind of seems obvious to me. But yet again, we have to do the homework and look at the best practices. There obviously are unintended consequences of doing these things, which is one of the reasons I like that idea. That if you just go to district only, right, you risk kind of lapsing into geographical faction, right? Whereas if you also expand the at-large, maybe you have some balance there.
Thank you. Schedule, I don't know.
I have the privilege of being able to set my own schedule.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Hearing none, I thank you very much. It's nice to meet you in person. We've spoken on the phone before about other things. And number 8, last tonight, but not least, is Barbara White.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have to make a little disclosure here. Ms. White and I worked on opposite sides of the criminal justice system for many years ago.
Many years ago.
I was the prosecutor, she was the defense attorney, and a very good one. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yes. Well, just so you know, the paper does make a difference because that's how I found out about it. It was in the paper.
Mhm.
And,
The Herald?
no, it was the Palm Beach
Post,
Post. I
okay.
read about it Friday morning, and that's why my application was pretty brief
Huh?
because I had till noon to get it in.
But you did.
But, no, for me, I believe it's time for me to be more involved in the community, and I love my work. Living here now for a number of years, and the charter review is something that one of the first things when I moved here was the March elections, and I thought, wow, I found it somewhat sad because I just when I saw the percentage of people voting, that's not a good indication of what our city should represent. So I believe that would be something important to review. It's just so important for the community to vote, and in any way that can be done to get people to do that, it would be a wonderful thing. And the other interest is, I do think that having a commissioners represent certain districts brings forth, I would imagine, would bring forth greater diversity and in opinions and just backgrounds. It would be nice to have people know what that individual community's needs are. I don't know Wes.
Wes Blackman.
His idea of maybe having then an at-large also commissioner, so that may help in terms of maybe breaking ties or just bringing in a fuller picture. But one would hope that commissioners that are representing their individual communities also will care about the entire city. So I don't know if that would be as much of a problem.
Yeah, and the mayor would be at large.
And the mayor
still
would
at
be
that point.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the intent. That's what we're thinking.
So there's a number of things. I just think that it would be a challenge and an interesting project to be involved in, and I would be happy to serve if you so choose to help to choose me.
You're retired, so your schedule's fairly flexible, I would think.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Very flexible.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for applying.
I noticed another name. Is there anyone in the audience that put in an application that we have not called your name? Okay, because I saw a name of, I thought I saw another name that had not been on the schedule.
Leanne can't make it today.
Oh, is that, okay.
Right, I think she got called yesterday. Oh, come
Oh,
in tomorrow. for
that's why
review.
we're-
Yes.
yeah.
So, but she.
We
is
discovered that.
interested in,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So thank you, everybody, for coming in and for your interest. And it's an exciting time to be here. We have a lot of new things going on, good Lord knows. And thank you very much.
I really appreciate their interest, and I'm glad for the turnout. I look forward to the discussion of number on the review committee.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. So do I have a motion regarding this?
Thank
Sorry.
you.
No, I was telling them they could leave. They were standing there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all, everybody, for applying.
Thank you.
What a good group.
Yeah, no, it's,
Yes.
I mean, it's,
It makes,
we've got to find more ways to get people involved in the city. We've got so many great people.
We have a
We've
good
got so
balance
much
of
talent in
experience
this.
and new here.
It's amazing.
It's
It's
exciting.
really, it's very cool. So hi, I'm just playing with you.
I was one of the well-informed ones on this.
I didn't see your application.
I got the a press release on about 11 o'clock.
I'm surprised.
And I saw it. It came in, actually came in about 5:30. Wednesday afternoon, I was already on press.
Of course you will. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm, I'm just, Mark, I get to play.
Oh, I know.
So will you put in the paper again, or should we take an ad out?
No, well,
elections cost 50.
he suggested advertising in a Hispanic paper.
Yes, I think that's a good idea too.
I take money too.
Yeah, oh, yeah. No, I listen.
Bill is here.
Appreciate you being here.
Welcome back.
We'll work that out. We'll work that out for sure.
We're off. Are we off?
We have a motion. We have to have a,
I'm sorry.
Madam Mayor, I don't think since we continued for further interviews, we
We're not-
have to take a motion.
okay, perfect. Even to adjourn this piece of it and go to the next piece. Okay. So the next piece is the letter of intent for the Gulfstream redevelopment with Restoration St. Louis, Inc. Oops.
I think we should welcome our guest.
I was going to, but I spoke too softly. Very intense reading. And welcome back to Lake Worth.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment cards on this, Madam Clerk?
We do have a few, Madam Mayor.
Okay. I guess we should hear them. Is there a
Okay, so,
presentation by staff?
Madam Mayor, we took the comments and discussion at the May 11th meeting and incorporated it into the letter of intent that the attorney crafted.
Okay.
And as you have before you is the final version with the dates in it.
Right.
And any last minute wordsmithing, I think, has all been presented. So Madam Attorney, I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, but Madam Mayor, I'd just like to clarify, we're kind of taking this in steps. And so
Okay.
this is the next logical step. What this does is it really commits to both parties negotiating in good faith on the different definitive agreements that we would have to enter in order to make all the efforts that are spelled out come to fruition. So by example, the economic development incentive program, which you're going to hear next on the agenda, the resolution on the $1 million infrastructure appropriation. As we've done in the past, we prepared economic development incentive agreement. We work with the developer to negotiate the terms and conditions. That would address all the conditions that the developer would have to make in order for that $1 million in infrastructure improvement money to become available to them. So you're not committing to giving the developer $1 million tonight. We're setting it up so the next logical step is for staff to come back to you with that incentive agreement that we will negotiate in good faith with the developer to bring back to you so you can see all of the written conditions on both sides before any money is. So we're just committing to sort of the next steps. Now we're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty details of these agreements. William Waters will be working on the land development ordinance, which also contains a lot of nitty-gritty stuff based on the comprehensive plan and based on land development regulations that are covered in that. That ultimately comes before you in an ordinance format. So again, you will then review all the conditions and obligations in that document, which will set forth more about the specifics of the development. So this is just the next logical step to get us closer to those definitive agreements.
And
Vote to have a vote.
And each time it'll come back to us.
And Madam Mayor, the next item is the companion item. This is the appropriation resolution for the $1 million of capital improvement. And I want to be very specific so no one thinks that this is an appropriation going into the pocket of the developer. This is for publicly owned rights of ways and properties around the site that is owned by the people.
Improvements to the areas.
That is correct. And it would become part of your 5-year capital plan if you approve the resolution tonight. But it's not a $1 million grant to the developer.
I have a question about that, and it's maybe out of line, but one of the things that I think about is the alley, between the two. And does this commit us to abandoning that alley or to doing anything with that alley?
Madam Mayor, I believe that alley was already abandoned.
It was abandoned a while back with the.
Yeah,
okay, so that's been done already. Okay.
We, the city, yes.
Okay, that was just a concern that I had.
That predates my involvement.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Let's hear some public comment.
Quick.
Yeah, then let's have the public comment cards and then we'll do us. No, you can keep your lights on.
Okay, I'm gonna set the timer for 2 minutes and read as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And I have one up here.
Okay, do you want to do yours first? Or you want me to do mine first?
I'll do mine first. Ann Fairfax, 226 South L Street,
Hello, Miss Ann Fairfax.
my neighborhood.
Good afternoon, Ann Fairfax. I represent a large grassroots. Can I take this off?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. None of us are wearing them.
Community group. We're an advocacy group that is here to give public comment on projects that are going on in our historic district. It's called Lake Worth is Worth Saving. I have something that might be longer than 2 minutes. You can just cut me off. But what I've tried to do is look at the Secretary of Interior standards, which I know is an important part of what will allow the developer to build in our district and also get the historic tax credits. And we, as a group, are opposed to the current design. That doesn't mean we're opposed to the current development. We want to go on record as saying that development is something we support. We just think that the nuance of the design needs to be worked on, and that as commissioners and as new commissioners, you need to understand that questioning the design is not torpedoing the project. And you want to understand that you have a large constituency who does not like the current design and feels like it needs to be improved. And I have the Secretary of Interior standards to back me up on this, because I'll just cherry pick some of these things. New additions and related new construction to historic structure that meet the standards can be any architectural style. So there's no justification for a very aggressive modern building there. It can be a traditional style, contemporary, and I'm quoting, or a simplified version of the historic building. New construction should be appropriately scaled and located far enough away from the historic building to maintain its character and that of the site. New additions and related new construction that are either identical to the historic building or in extreme contrast to it.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you. And Ms. Fairfax. And I've been, talking with this group as well for quite a long time. Could you share in a printed form that with us? And not now, but just email that to everybody so we have it to read.
I've gone through the guidelines and standards. I'm an historic architect.
Okay.
So
Why don't you just email to everybody what you want us to look at? And I would actually ask you to include Gail in that email.
certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Okay, so the first comment is from Teresa Miller of 829 North Lakeside Drive in Lake Worth Beach. She wrote that Restoration St. Louis has a track record of producing excellent finished projects for 10+ years. The abandoned Gulfstream property has been a colossal symbol of Lake Worth's failure to take a business-like approach to renovating the property. Recent history has changed that, and we now have a highly qualified potential purchaser who would turn this eyesore into a viable revenue contributing part of the community. This is a company with a portfolio of turnaround properties similar to the Gulfstream. Imagine the dining room open again, a rooftop lounge, a local venue for special events, hotel rooms bringing guests who will patronize our downtown shops and restaurants, a restored building that will be the pride of our community. Many of us attended Amy and Amrit's presentation and left impressed with their plans. It is time to stop the talking and start the work.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
The next one is from Thomas Conboy at 30 South M Street. Please make sure the Gulfstream Hotel plans reflect the following: the Secretary of the Interior standards of treatment of historic properties, new exterior additions, and related new construction, new additions, and related new constructions that meet the standards can be any architectural style, traditional, contemporary, or a simplified version of the historic building. New construction should be appropriately scaled and located far enough away from the historic building to maintain its character and that of the site and setting. New additions and related new construction that are either identical to the historic building or in extreme contrast to it are not compatible. A new addition must preserve the building's historic character, form, significant materials, and features. It must be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and design of the historic building while differentiated from the historic building. That's all the comments for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Conboy. That's it then? Thank you. I'm going to go to the commission now, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Robinson.
This is a big step, I think, hopefully in the opening of the hotel. It's a commitment, it's a partnership, it's a demonstration that we're open for business, and Lake Worth has a great future to invest in. Want to thank the Gills for coming to town. I do have some questions in the letter of understanding. Can I express my interest in our oceanfront park? I know they have expressed their interest. I want to understand that any decision made at the beach will come back to the commission as well. Is that proceed? Okay. And just an explanation of the HUD loan 108 loan community development block grant and how that's going to affect our CDBG money commitment to the community at large. Can somebody explain?
I think that's a question for staff.
Madam Mayor,
Please.
if there's any impact on the city CDBG funds that are received ultimately through HUD, I believe the city would have to be a signature on the grant to Gulfstream. But that is something that we will have on our radar, so that we'll make sure that if there is a grant from HUD specifically to the developer, we will know the impact, if any, on our CDBG funds. But I believe we would have to sign off on that if we were going to reduce our eligibility for CDBG funds based on a grant to the developer.
So we might potentially lose some of our CDGB money.
That's what we've got to have on our radar, and it's an
Yeah.
excellent point by Commissioner
Yeah, thank you.
Robinson to keep that on our radar, so that in our support for the developer for HUD, we are under the impression that that would be in addition to the city's annual CDBG obligation.
In addition to it.
Madam Mayor, it was my understanding that it was a separate ask through the county
Okay,
from our traditional.
it would be separate.
Through the county.
Okay, because I would, of course, hate to lose some of our money. Not that we wanted.
That was.
Okay, great question.
And
anything
of
else?
course, the design is always going to be somebody's appreciation of what art is and what design is. I'm just can't wait to say yes to moving the Gulfstream Hotel forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes.
Yes, so when I asked about item 12, the $6 million in HUD money, I was assured that that was from the county and it wouldn't interfere with ours, so I didn't know that was something for our islands. My question is about item 4. And I'm just curious if there's a way we can explore and possibly if that $1 million of improvement can come from our CRA. I believe the hotel is in the CRA district, and it is their, mission to have, to do these kinds of economic incentive packages. And I believe they can use their money for infrastructure improvements. And I'd rather see our 5-year capital improvement plan go towards the neighborhoods rather than economic incentives. So I'd like to look in the future if we can swap that out. There's an understanding that that money will be coming to this project, but I would really urge that it comes from the CRA, that's their mission. Our mission is,
Or that it not affect our CDGB fund.
no, item 4.
CIP. Oh,
Yeah, so I'm sure we can talk about that in the next item C, but that's the one area that I just question why that's coming from the city and not the CRA. Like the other, the electric utility is getting new customers, so they're the ones that are going to be giving that incentive. And the CRA is interested in restoring in that district, so.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
I think in this particular case on item 4, the 5-year capital CIP of not less than $1 million for capital improvements related to utilities. I know when we did the project with the MID, these were projects that were already planned as expansions, but were moved up in order to facilitate an incentive for the project. It's not an additional project allocation, I think is the case here, but Madam Attorney, you might want to include that. But I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Stokes, about the source always is a good thing to try to find other ways to share the love.
Right. If we could have the CRA pitch in for this, knowing what, we talk about how it's an invaluable investment to our city and it's priceless the amount we want to invest in it, but that money is, we have needs outside of just that thing. So if the CRA could help us free up some funds to improve other roadways, I think everybody would appreciate that.
Okay.
Great point, and I think we need to have a little conversation with them. Commissioner,
Yeah, 2 unrelated items. Actually 3. The first one, I believe we had a discussion when we talked about our rules and procedures a while back, and perhaps I misrecall, but I believe we had a discussion that we all felt transparency was extremely important. And as part of that, we felt it was very important that for items that were going to be on an agenda, all of the backup should be made available at the usual deadline. It needs to be submitted by a certain point, and then it goes up publicly. I believe it's on Thursday before or Friday before the following Tuesday meeting. What concerns me is procedural on this one. The content in this case, I don't think is a big deal, but procedurally it is. As part of that being transparent, I was not happy to receive an email yesterday that, hey, what's on the backup isn't what you're going to be talking about. Here's the more recent stuff. I received that email at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And the indication was you'll receive hard copies on the dais. I feel very strongly that in our duty to be transparent to the public, we have to set a deadline that the backup is provided, and then you can't change it after that. If it wasn't ready, then it gets moved to the next agenda item. So that's just procedural. I do think it's important. As far as the specifics of this one, I want to say that I'm very happy to see Mr. Gill here again. We've met now a number of times. I'm very happy to see the project moving forward. I do hope that there will be a commitment to working on the renovation of the existing building that, as you are very well aware, everybody loves in this community, that will be the first priority and the first focus. The other aspect is I was very pleased to hear what Architect Fairfax pointed out, that being concerned about the design of the new part of the building is in no way an effort to torpedo restoration of the existing building, that there's widespread, as I've said before, support for that. I do hope that we will look and encourage you in the process of working on the new design for the design for the new part, that full consideration will be given of the most recent version of the Department of Interior. And I understand that there's been, they aren't totally clear, they've changed from time to time, but I do hope that we will use the best version of that to really think about the historic parts of the community. And so thank you for hearing me out on that. And welcome again. The last one was on 8, and I do understand that we'll be coming back in more detail to these. This is just to kind of get us going in the negotiation, which is fine. But 8 in C8 says to collaborate and identify appropriate safety and facility improvements for Bryant Park. The question is, it's very vague. It's not very clear what that would mean. And that makes it kind of hard to say, yes, I'm for this. So I hope that that item comes back to us, it will have some more clarity to it as to exactly what we would be moving to.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you.
First, thank you for being here. Architect Ms. Fairfax, thank you for all your input. I actually have tried to connect Ms. Fairfax with the Gills in regards to some designs that she had sent me. And I think it's important that everybody hears that we are all in support of this project. I'm excited to be able to sign off on this. And remember that priority is creating jobs in our city. The positive economic impact that this hotel is going to have, not just during the construction, but many, many, many years after, and the trickle down effect of the dollar. I really want to reiterate the fact that I brought up to the Gills. It's important to me that we design a website that will give informative, imperative information to the community as the project progresses, not afterthought, right? So look for this coming in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Here's what's happening in the pipeline, as well with any design renderings that you guys, because you've already said 3 times, we're going back to the design. So I think it's important that we just make sure that because we want the community to love everything about this project, that we make sure that we focus on the design of the website and that we as a city publicize that website and push it out. I'm all about social media and the positive things that happen in the city. I encourage the rest of the commission and city management to do the same and to share your information as it comes in to keep people excited about this project and know that we are moving forward. It's going to be a great partnership. I do think that in regards to Commissioner McGoy's concern on number 8, any appropriate safety or facility improvements for Bryant Park is a win-win for the entire city, not just for the Gulfstream. We have been trying to figure out for years how to make the Bryant Park more interactive and safe for families and youth. And I think it's going to be a win-win for all parties. And I'm excited. I've read through this 3 or 4 times. I agree with Commissioner Stokes in regards to making sure that, other people are partaking in the party of the funds. But I just think it's a great project and I'm excited to move along.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Mr. Gill. Yeah, as many of us are welcoming you to the city, and I'm one of those people. And I'm really glad to hear a few of us talking about, and Anne, thank you for coming up today about the historic thing. Public processes, and as I'm sure you know, can be awkward and annoying and cumbersome, but they also bring with that process an investment, an emotional investment into the project from the people. And I think you probably have heard it one too many times about the love that we have for that building, the love that we have for that project, how important that historic building is to us. And so I would ask you to work, and if you've talked to Ms. Fairfax, to try to be as open as you can in terms of the design. That's, we want you there. We want it to happen. Were you going to say something?
Whenever you have a few minutes for me to say something, I'd be happy.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I love the idea of the website and, keeping it public. We all ran on an idea of transparency and letting people know. It's very difficult when here's the picture, here's what's going to be, but I didn't get to say my part. So we encourage that and welcome that and hope that you are part of that process and not just the developer that comes in from out of town and does the thing that nobody loves. But thank you and welcome. We are past public comment. We've had public comment already. So I apologize. So Mr. Gill, would you like to come up and say something?
Yes, please. So we heard all of you, especially you, Commissioner, loud and clear the last time. We spent the last 2 weeks activating our internal architectural team, design team, as well as a couple of outside architects that have worked on a lot of our projects. And we've of course involved the National Park Service, talked to them. We have close friends there because I believe the first historic project we did was in 1989. So we've been working with the National Park Service a long time. We have thought through a complete redesign. It's going to add about 45 to 60 days to the process. Amy and her team have been working on it literally every day. And so very soon, we should be able to come back to you with something that looks different. Our issue is the program. We have a certain program that we have to have. So we have to have a structure that allows us to have those things within the structure. The last thing we want to do is build a project in the community that the community doesn't love.
Absolutely.
That would be counterproductive to everything we do as a company. It would be counterproductive to our mission. So we wouldn't want to do that. It would be, in our minds, a failure, even if it was an economic success. So we heard you loud and clear the last time. I should have gotten up and told you this at the very beginning, so you didn't have to waste energy on.
Oh, we would anyway. It's fine.
But there's a relatively large team at work on this. In fact, I've been getting texts from them all through the day today as well, every day, about the direction it's going.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I can't wait to have that first drink. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the letter of intent as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Welcome aboard and keep up the good work. We'll be watching. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. And I believe, oh, we have one more.
Got the companion
We have the
item.
next one. We have, and this is item number C, which is resolution 28-2021, approving a budget amendment for infrastructure regarding the Gulfstream Hotel project. Is there a presentation by staff?
Verbally, Madam Mayor, this reflects part of the conversation that we've had with Gulfstream about capital improvement investments on the public rights of ways surrounding the properties, including things such as the hardscape, sidewalks, curbing, and up to the parking area as well, redoing that to the east. And this $1 million would be coming out of your capital improvement fund balance of undesignated reserves, which I believe is about $1.2 million right now. So that $1 million would be moved out of the reserves and into an actual item, which would be reflected in your capital improvement program, which we're actually talking about on June the 3rd.
I have one question. And just so the folks listening or watching later, we're talking about improving a public, this is public money going into a public project to improve what is in front, the east side of the hotel. How far south? Are we going down to the north end of Bryant Park?
It really bounds the block around that city block.
So it's not just the east.
It's not just the east. And then it goes to the east. And we've kind of been calling it the Gulfview parking lot.
Gulfview, yeah.
Right there to Bryant Park.
Sure.
And the way it's designed right now, it's angled parking. It's not very efficient. And we've had some conceptual designs, which we'll bring back, obviously, that straightens and does 90-degree parking and increases the number that's available. That would go there.
Okay, and it's limited to that area? It can't go south? It couldn't go south of the?
It's bounded right now by the first.
By first. Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, just clarification. Can you give us a little bit more concrete idea? $1 million is quite a bit without any diagrams or written description of what is it actually that we're going to do. If I understood you correctly, you said all of the exterior of the block, it goes all four sides of it. Is that, or did I understand that wrong?
That's correct, Commissioner McVoy. The way the property, the way the number was arrived at was Public Services estimated linear footage, square footage of the sidewalk areas, the streets, the curbs, and came up with that number.
And I'm assuming this is a not to exceed number.
That's correct.
I mean, it's not if we have $1
Right.
million, we have to spend $1 million.
Yes.
Come in.
And conversely, there may be other projects that you might be considering also with improvements to Bryant Park and other things that this would bleed into.
Yeah.
But this specific dedication around that block is the cornerstone.
Okay, great.
Madam Mayor, perhaps to answer Commissioner McMoy a little bit further, we would come back with an agreement that will lay out the specifications for this fund. Because what then happens is once they get building permits, those specifications become part of their building permit. Because the developer is actually going to build these infrastructure improvements for the city. So we pay them this money to do that. And so that's how we've done that with the Mid and the Bohemian. So in the Economic Development Incentive Agreement, you will see the specifications for what we will spend the money on. The money gets paid to the developer to make those improvements. And then we get a bond or a letter of credit to ensure that that gets done.
And do we have input into the design as we go forward? I'm looking at
Yes.
Mr. Gill.
It all goes through site plan development, and they have to sign off on these infrastructure improvements and then issue building permits for them to do this in the public rights of way.
Great,
And
thank
did
you.
the CRA chip in for that, or did that come out of the city's capital
For
improvement?
both the Bohemian and the Mid, it came out of the cities because as the manager said, these are improvements that the city already has planned or outside the 5-year plan, eventually we'll need to do anyways. What we do is we utilize the developer's construction contractor to actually make those improvements for the city. And so we use those capital improvement funds, pay it to the developer, and they get it done. If it costs them more to get it done, that's up to them. If it costs them less, that's up to them.
But that would,
It's actually a more efficient way to do it than having two sets of contractors.
and it would be a cooperative effort, I would assume, between the city and the developer.
So my question is, why, I mean, I'm imagining that this work is going to be coming at the tail end of the project after the construction of the hotel is complete. It wouldn't make any sense to do it now. So I'm curious why we need to be, why this item needs to happen now, because I would really prefer that this money gets spent from the CRA's funds. So I don't know why right now tonight we have to take money. I mean, it's a 5-year capital improvement. I don't think we have enough funds right now to do everything on that wish list. So any money we can keep in there for other improvements in the city, when the CRA's sole purpose is to have a district and improve it, and specifically through economic incentives and things that are going to generate revenue and excitement and things for the city. I really would like to see the CRA take ownership of having that happen and being the driving force behind these funds, even if it's not what we did in the past. I think it's what we should consider doing in the future. And I don't know why we have to take that money out of these funds tonight when they're not going to be spent for another 1.5 years or so.
It's a commitment to the project moving forward.
That's the letter of intent.
Yes, well, and the public improvements, the capital improvements.
Right.
Are a commitment to the project to, I'm going to say, expedite the confidence to move forward. It may not be spent this year, but it's a commitment. I'm comfortable with committing our side of the partnership to increase the confidence of this project.
I'm comfortable committing $1 million, but I think it should come from the CRA.
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner,
I agree with Commissioner Stokes, and moving forward that at least the CRA should be able to meet us 50-50, right? But at the end of the day, if there wasn't a development and that property was sitting vacant, we would still have to take $1 million and do the improvements for the people who live in that community. Because if it's infrastructure that has been negated or avoided, or we haven't been able to fix prior to, it's still something that, we would have had to wrote a check for somewhere down the line to fix and repair it. So I do agree with you, Commissioner Stokes, that from now on, the CRA should be at the table when it comes to stuff like this. But as Commissioner Robinson said, this is our skin in the game. This is our commitment to saying we're all in. Here's our $1 million bond that we're going to improve and give to, taking care of the things that were neglected in the city. So I don't see anything wrong with approving this as is right now, but in the future, making sure that any projects that are in the CRA, that they're at the table with that funding.
Commissioner McVoy.
I guess I'm a little puzzled by the process. As I've said, I'm all for restoring the existing historic building. I very much appreciate the comments that you've made, Mr. Gill, about being open to looking more and working with DOI, the Department of Interior, on their requirements. I'm not sure that we're seeing a commitment that the first thing you're going to work on is the restoration of what all of us are most excited about, which is the historic building. Maybe that commitment is coming along the way. But my understanding of the process is this letter of intent that we just approved will be followed by individual items that have detail. This looks like one of the individual items. It's kind of big ticket at $1 million. There's clearly a question of should that $1 million come out of the city or should come out of the footprint of the CRA that the hotel falls in. That seems like a very valid question. And it would seem like the obvious answer is come out of the footprint where it falls in, which is the CRA. The other thing is there's no detail. So if I'm understanding correctly, we're moving from the rather general letter of intent that says, hey, this is we're in, we're approving, let's go. This is the city side of that. And now we're moving, this is one of the sub items under that goes to more detail. Except the only detail, there's not a detailed commitment from the developer of what will be done first, which I think is an issue. And there's no commitment to our community of what actually we're doing. The assertion is made that these are things we do anyhow. There's $1 million worth of stuff that we were going to do, and we're just going to do, but there's no drawings, there's no specifics. So I don't know that I can defend that statement that this is stuff that we were going to do anyhow. If I look at the parking lots out there now, it's not like I'm saying, oh my God, it's all potholes or nobody has any idea of anything and it's not working. It's functioning space. Could you improve it a little bit? Sure, but $1 million worth of unspecified improvements is it's a big blank check to sign without any specs on it.
But Chris, you just said that they were going to come back with more detail.
Yeah,
Right.
public works.
You just said that.
If this is something that's going to be done after the project, why not sign the blank check when we've got the detail?
Because we're putting our skin in the game. We're making a commitment to people who are investing millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in time. And they're not going to make a commitment to when the project's going to kick off and what's going to be done first until they have their renderings that we're making them go back and redo in a better timeline. It's one step in front of the other. I mean, we can't ask them to do that if we didn't do it to the Mid and the Bohemian. You can't treat one project because it's near and dear to our hearts because it's attached to a historical building differently than we've treated other investors. We just can't.
We certainly
It sets a bad tone.
Put a high priority on our downtown, which is a very small area and is very unusual in South Florida. It's unusual for historic character. And
it is,
yes,
but that's why we have to come to the table.
Protective of that.
And I mean,
we should.
I respectfully disagree. We've got to move this project along and we've got to do it today. These people have waited. The property is costing them more and more money every day that goes by because of inflation on the stuff that they have to buy. And the more we keep dragging stuff out because we want more detail, it's just not affecting the project in a positive way.
And this isn't, here's $1 million, go have fun. They're
Right.
back to us.
Buy a yacht.
Design that we have to approve.
And Public Works is going to be involved in the engineering of it, and they're going to be incentivized to have everything come up, in a complete package. I'm pretty sure that we're going to require a CO for simultaneous COs for the old building and the new building. Or at least, I would like to make sure that one CO doesn't
hold up another,
come before the other. And then the road project, the infrastructure is going to be part of that whole project. So this is the most efficient, expeditious way to get this project moving forward.
Madam Mayor, I believe Mr. Gill might have some.
Well, I was going to actually call on Commissioner Stokes first. Thank you.
Well, I just want to get some of my questions answered. So I know we've had a lot of things that we've gotten involved at the tail end of the project, and it's been hard to do a lot of changes. And we've been very flexible, and I think done a pretty good job of compromising and things moving forward. This is still very early on in the project, and I'm happy I've approved this letter of intent. I do not think it's too late to question the source of funding, and I would like to know, what impact it would be if we did not do this item C tonight, so we can go back to the C. You're one way or another, you're getting your $1 million, whether it comes from us or the CRA, and we need to push strongly that it comes from the CRA. Is it too late for us to ask for the CRA to jump in? We haven't even like really launched. We don't even have a design for this project.
Has the CRA, has there been a conversation with the CRA about funding that anybody's aware of?
I believe in the letter of intent, there is an item that is what the CRA's sort of skin in the game would be. And I believe that's in item C.
13.
13.
What is it? For some reason.
So there's additional things that the CRA would do. Keep in mind the infrastructure improvement incentive that the city is committing the $1 million to is not only roadway improvement. It includes electric utility, water and sewer improvements. So what happened with the mid was the way this whole program evolved was we identified where the mid was, that there were already capital improvements that needed to be made there for the utilities and for roadway and for stormwater. So the way we actually developed this incentive program was looking at these areas to be developed and saying, hey, what do we have in our CIP program that we could use that money, give it to the developer so they could use their economies of scale, fix those issues for the city that we have planned to fix anyways, and it's a win-win for both parties. And that's how that first started with the mid. We used it on the Bohemian. And so here, what we're looking at is what are all those improvements the city would make, whether this project goes forward or not. And we're looking at that, came up with the $1 million figure to say, we think in this area, we have $1 million of capital improvements we need to make for a variety of things. So let's work with our developer, incentivize them with that funds. They can use their construction contractor who's motivated to the spot, ready to go, instead of going through our normal process, which may take several years, different contractors, and likely be more expensive.
Mr. Gill, did you want to address us?
Yes, ma'am. A couple of things. So this letter of intent is non-binding. You could revoke this at the next council meeting. If you want to. No, just
right.
What is binding are some of the things that will be negotiated within the framework of this. We're negotiating good faith to come to an agreement on those. What you have in front of you is something that is something we've talked about now for 6, 8, 10 months. Yeah. And it's something that we have been presenting to our lenders as one of the things that's being done. So it's part of the capital stack we are putting together that we've actually at one point had completely together, and then COVID kind of decimated certain pieces of it. So it's actually far more important than you think that you do this, as opposed to waiting for 4 months when you have a design, because there will be no design, because I couldn't move forward without at least this commitment of something that's actually concrete,
tangible.
So the
letter of
is not
intent.
enough.
Oh, it's completely non-binding, deliberately so.
It even says somewhere that it's not binding. So
if we approve this tonight, can we go back and start working immediately with the CRA and then amend this later and to show a different source of these funds? So you don't care where the funds come from. You just need something to take to your investors today to say they're coming. And if the CRA, we can't get anything from them, you have this commitment from us.
Anyway,
when we get the CRA, hopefully because they see that we view incentives a little differently than our previous commission, to possibly change the direction and pitch in to help cover these costs so we can get more improvements into our neighborhoods. And then everybody's really excited about this project, even more than they already are, that we can change it and it's no problem. That's all I want to know tonight. It's not too late, I think, to question.
We can always certainly open up that discussion with
But
them.
tonight, so as long as we know that this is something we can revise later, and Mr. Gill is saying right now, as long as he's throughout the process, he has a commitment to funding, we can change the source.
Madam Mayor.
Yeah. Hi.
Sorry, Commissioner.
Yes, Mike.
Well, I was just briefly, a letter of understanding is really a letter of reasonable expectation. And that's a legitimate word. Mr. Gill has a legitimate understanding that we're going to move forward with this. And Christ, I forgot the.
So, thank you, Commissioner Robinson. I think we've had a lot of discussion on this issue tonight.
We have.
Yeah, I feel cleared up.
Yeah, and I think excellent points have been brought out. I respect everybody's, I think that's a really good idea about talking to the CRA.
Well, it emphasizes the lack of communication we've had with CRA.
Oh, that's changing.
From the dais.
Right.
If they would only
Okay,
show up at least once a quarter.
Motion to approve resolution.
thank you. Oh, wait, no, we have a, Madam Clerk, do you have any comment cards?
I have two. Do you have some there? Do you want to start or you want me to start?
I have one here, and why don't I start, and then we can move on from there. Mr. Stokes? No, Stokes. Oh, my God.
We're not aware of a Mr. Stokes.
Well, if Mr. Stowe would write a little more carefully, the old lady's eyes would be better.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Stowe. Sorry about that.
I just want to say I'm unalterably opposed to the commission dishing out this $1 million right up front. I think there's issues with future flooding in this area. There's no established historic, to my knowledge, there's no established historic guidelines for buildings in flood zones. This is a 10 out of 10 flood zone. There's I agree that maybe FEMA, maybe there's other funding sources aside from the CRA. I just don't see that this is something that could be revisited a month from now, or it doesn't, I just don't see, I think it's a little imprudent to be cutting checks tonight.
Well, we're not cutting any checks tonight. No checks are being cut tonight. This is all in the future.
Earmarking money.
Earmark money tonight directly from the city budget. So I would like advice to vote against this.
Thank you. Madam Clerk? Do we have comment
Yes,
card?
I have two that I'm going to read, and then a third is going to read their own, and that is it. So I will start. The first one is from Greg Richter at 1202 South Palmway. Madam Mayor.
Here.
Melissa, he's here.
Melissa, he actually came in person. Do you have your written?
I'd like to just add a little bit more to what she was going to read.
Okay, so Mr. Richter's going to appear in person tonight.
Go ahead and give me my 2 minutes and I'll stand here and talk to the group.
Thank you.
Okay?
Live,
Is that
not
possible?
Memorex.
Is that right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I restarted your 2 minutes.
Okay, all right. I'm
Not
on.
fast.
Okay, first of all, I was writing in favor of us earmarking this money. As Mr. Gill said, this is an issue of moving the financing process along, and you cannot mess with this. Figure out where you you can figure out where you're going to get the money, even though I do believe that this is merely capital improvements that the city should be doing. And it should be coming from the capital improvement fund. The second thing, you have another place to look, and I did mention this in my note, you got $13 million in FEMA money. And where's that money going to go? Because I haven't heard anything on that. And I know, Herman, you've been asking about it at our various meetings. But the important thing is that to move this project forward, you don't have to commit where the money's coming from tonight, but please move this forward and figure out, later where you're going to get the money from. I do question whether it should come from the CRA. I don't think their responsibility is capital improvements. I think their responsibility is, bringing improvements to the city, bringing investors into the city, bringing builders in the city, not doing sidewalks and sewers. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richter.
Well said.
Then we have another comment. Do we have another comment card?
Yes.
Madam Clerk?
Are you ready for me?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I have a letter from Jorge Pesquera, President and CEO of Discover the Palm Beaches. It's very long. I won't be able to get through it. Dear Lake Worth Beach City Commission, it has come to our attention that the Gulfstream Hotel project has the possibility of moving forward with new ownership and a highly qualified operator. This letter is written in strong support of the Gulfstream Hotel development project. Discover the Palm Beaches, the official tourism marketing corporation for Palm Beach County, advocates and supports sustainable hospitality-related projects throughout the county. Destination development is part of our mandate with the Board of County Commissioners and a key strategic goal of our organization as established by our board and approved by the Tourist Development Council. There are many reasons why we consider that the revival of this historic property should take place as follows. Downtown Lake Worth Beach lacks an anchor hotel to drive demand on Lake and Lucerne Avenues. Downtown Lake Worth Beach Market is underserved in terms of upscale level accommodations in spite of its proximity to Palm Beach and its resort properties. The Gulfstream with 106 rooms could add over 12,000 additional annual visitors in downtown Lake Worth Beach, spending $7.3 million in support of local retail and leisure activity. Lake Worth Beach has an authentic tourism product with the Snook Islands, Lake Worth Beach Park, and its array of bars, restaurants, shops, galleries attract the eco, culinary, and cultural traveler. The Palm Beaches has increased its number of visitors by 100% over the past decade, outpacing the state of Florida by 37 points. As the pandemic crisis continues to dissipate, we are seeking a return of strong demand for hotel rooms, even outpacing the record performance of 2019, which bodes well for this project. DTPB and other TDC agencies invest an aggregate of $300 million in destination marketing. I'm sorry, 30 million in destination. Oh, I'm sorry, my time is up.
Thank you. That'll be in the public record if people want to read the rest of the letter.
It is, I have it printed out.
Yes, thank you very much.
I apologize. Keith, there is one Gustav Weibel wanted to read his own comments. Can you bring him in, please?
Yep, 1 second on it, on the way.
Thank you.
Should be in and online, just needs to unmute and start video if Gustav would like.
Mr. Weibel, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm here to be in support of the resolution for the Gulfstream Hotel.
Sir, please state your name and your address before you start, so we have it on the record.
Yes, I'm Gustav Weibel. I represent Discover the Palm Beaches from 2195 Southern Boulevard in West Palm Beach.
Okay. Well, we just had your letter written, read into the record. No, that's a different person. All right, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Jorge Pesquera. Yes. Yeah. So I'm here in support of the Gulfstream Hotel, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I thank everyone, the city commission and the city staff for all your hard work in getting the Gulfstream, on track and back in this situation that we have here to move forward and have the property open. I think this hotel is an iconic property. It's nothing better for Lake Worth Beach and serving visitors. The hotel is going to fill a much needed gap in the downtown area. Right now, there are no hotels except for a couple of bed and breakfasts. So for visitors that want to stay overnight, there's limited options. These visitors are projected to spend about $7.3 million in the city, which will help all the local businesses, restaurants to all grow. It'll have also opportunities for new businesses to open. These 12,000 guests annually that we project would have little impact on traffic and congestion because it'd only be about 36 people there per day. And they would not need a car. Everything would be in walking distance. Restaurants, the beach, eco activities, everything they need is in walking distance. And also lastly, the TDC invests $30 million annually to attract visitors, which would help support and make this hotel a success. So I think it should be a very easy decision to approve this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Do I have a motion?
I made a motion.
You already made a motion. Do we have a second? Did we have a second?
It was second.
Thank you. From Commissioner Robinson. Do I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Motion passes unanimously.
So will you be talking to this Larry?
We'll,
You'll
Yeah, yeah,
liaise with them?
I'll, absolutely.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Gill.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Look forward to a good substantive working relationship. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Bye.
We are adjourned until 6 o'clock for the rest of the evening.
This is Keith. When the commission is ready, if you would unmute yourselves.
You're gonna be mindful of the thing that she
Yes.
said.
We've been asked by the clerk to really keep the paper rustling down. Which is really hard because we're looking at things that we have to look at, but they're having difficulty hearing us.
If we went paperless.
Yeah, why don't you do that, Herman? Good evening, everybody. We're waiting for the clerk to call us.
Madam Mayor, it is 6:00, I can't even see, 5 p.m. and we are live.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I'd like to call the May 25th, 2021 Special Commission Meeting number 2 to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Betty Rush,
Here?
Vice Mayor Herman Robinson.
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes.
Here.
Thank you. We'll have please rise for the pledge led by Vice Mayor Robinson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We're here tonight on the, this is the continuation of the quasi judicial hearing on the appeal by Alfred Malafetto Esquire, filed on behalf of Marlin Industrial Park Owners Association of PZB case number 20-0014-00035, a project commonly referred to as the DOKA project, pursuant to section 23.2-17 of the city's code of ordinance. On May 11th, 2021, the City Commission unanimously approved a 2-week continuance of the appeal in order for the appellant and applicant appellee to discuss a potential resolution and withdrawal of the appeal. Prior to the hearing from the appellant and hearing from the appellant and the appellee, do the commissioners have any ex parte communications, personal investigations, or campaign contributions to disclose which arose during the continuation of the appeal?
No.
No.
No? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yes, Commissioner Robinson, no. Okay, Commissioner Stokes?
Yes, I met with Lisa Revis, the attorney for DOKA.
Yes.
Representing that, yeah.
Commissioner McBoy?
And I followed the instructions from our commission for the two parties to meet and try to come to agreement. I took that to heart and unadvisedly, but with the best of intentions, wrote a letter with suggestions that might help based on some conversations I had right after the meeting with the DOKA representative and DOKA attorney. And took to heart that their wish to be good neighbors. So I wrote a letter with some suggestions. And for that reason, that's a major ex parte communication. And I would like to recuse myself from the meetings.
And that's okay. All right, thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
based on Commissioner McCoy's recusing himself, there was the letter that he was drafted. So what I would like to know, because each of you were copied on that letter, is just for the record, if you received that letter and you reviewed it as he did, we need to have each commissioner rethink if they're able to serve as an impartial decision maker in this matter. So if possible, for the record, if you could state whether or not you read that letter, and if so, if you're able to still serve as an impartial decision maker.
Thank you.
I did open the email as soon as I saw what the first 2 lines were. I deleted it, didn't read the rest.
Do you have any other ex parte communications?
None.
Okay, Commissioner Robinson.
I read the letter and with the understanding of the intent, and it will not affect my decision.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes?
I skimmed the letter and I don't think it will affect my decision.
Yeah, and as far I received it also and started looking at it and said, yeah, probably better not to. So, but I have had communications with Ms. Reeves, from the attorney, one of the attorneys for the appellee. I have had some communications with Ms. Crone. And I don't know what else I have, but I think that's pretty much it. And I spoke with Mr. Malafato, that's right. And I also spoke with Dan, whose last name is not in my brain right now, and I apologize. Hyatt, thank you. Sorry about that. I guess the first thing I'm going to ask is, have the parties had an opportunity and did you come to any resolutions? And I'll ask both to address it.
Not to Neil Schiller again with Government Law Group representing DOKA. Not to prolong anything, we had discussions, we proffered offers back and forth, but we have not come to a compromise.
Okay, Mr. Malafato, do you?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we are back on the original appeal. At the last meeting, I focused on the procedural, you guys can sit down. Thank you. I focused on the procedural aspect of the due process aspect of this. And I actually looked, there was an ordinance change in October of last year, which hadn't been codified yet. So if you look up on Municode, you just see the old ordinance. But if you look at new stuff, there is a new ordinance that was passed in October, which clarifies some of the language, and we should just be aware that that I'm referring to ordinance 2020-14. My feeling is still that the due process was not granted. My feeling is that the language specifically, which talks about continuances, and I'm just going to get to there in a second. And that is under 23.2-16G, which is continuance. And it reads, the decision-making body may, on its own motion, continue the hearing to a fixed date, time, and place. Also, the applicant or affected party shall have the right to one continuance, provided the request is to address neighborhood concerns or new evidence, to hire legal counsel or professional services consultant, or the applicant or affected party is unable to be represented at the hearing. The decision-making body will continue the hearing to a fixed time and place. It goes on for a minute, not as relevant. However, all subsequent continuances shall be granted at the sole discretion of the decision-making body. Notwithstanding the foregoing, a continuance shall not be granted if to do so would delay a decision on an appeal from the HRPB, which is not what we're dealing with today, regarding a certificate of appropriateness beyond the 90-day requirement specified in 23.2-17. From the record below, it is my understanding that Mr. Hyatt called the city at that point. The city was unable to have a quorum. They knew that at that time. This very specifically says the decision-making body may grant a continuance. In this case, and this is very technical, but it is my belief that the decision-making body did not grant a continuance in December. That as a result, it is still my feeling, my belief, that they were not afforded due process, that it would have been very simple for the city attorney made a determination that that was a continuance, even though as provided for in the ordinance, the decision-making body had not granted a continuance. And I know that it seems cumbersome, it might seem cumbersome or difficult, but I do believe that if we do have these kinds of rules, we need to follow these rules. And I believe that Mr. Hyatt was unable to present one of the things that I believe on the record is he was trying to hire an attorney, he was having trouble, there were neighborhood issues. So without going into further, I think procedurally, my feeling is that procedurally, this should go that we shouldn't even get into the substantive stuff underneath because he wasn't I think we can rest on the procedural continuance issue and send it back to the Planning and Zoning Board. And I will pass the gavel to make a motion if I have to.
Well, so if I'm understanding you, can you imagine, or is there any new evidence that would be presented to?
That's not our question.
It's not the question.
That's not our question. I don't think we get to go to that.
Can we ask the attorneys, if,
We can certainly, of course.
well, this will mean, let's count the number of days.
And we have a response to that. I've spoken with the city attorney, and Madam City Attorney or Mr. Bornstein, would you like to address that?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Planning and Zoning Board right now has a special meeting set up for June 23rd. So if it's the desire of the commission to send this back to planning and zoning because of a procedural issue, we would ask that it would be set for the June 23rd hearing date before planning and zoning to be reheard. That would afford staff the opportunity to renotice the hearing and have it proceed before planning and zoning on June 23rd. Now, obviously, there would have to be an opportunity that if there's new affected parties, if they ask for the continuance, June 23rd, planning and zoning board would have to consider that. And if they granted such a continuance, that continuance can't be further than 31 days out. So they could grant that continuance, set another special hearing, and ideally render a final hearing from planning and zoning on this case by no later than the end of July.
Thank you.
And then can they, if planning and zoning approves this unanimously again, in the end of July at the latest, they can still appeal and have it come back to us. Is there a way to set a like, like we've kind of done in other areas, informally, to put a placeholder on our like first meeting in July or first meeting in August of like, if there is an appeal, or is there a certain amount of time that we have to grant the party to prepare for an appeal? Like what is?
Once the order from the planning and zoning board is given, I believe the affected parties have 30 days to give a notice of appeal to the city. And they have a little bit more time to prepare their case before it goes to the city commission. So the soonest it likely could happen after a final decision from the board and the order is rendered is about 2 months later.
Thank you. Commissioner Malika?
I agree with your sentiments, Madam Mayor, in regards to the process and them not getting their due diligence, their day, if you will. I also think, and I had a conversation earlier with Mr. Waters in regards to this, I think that a lot of this has come to fruition because of one little box that was checked and the surrounding community thinking one thing was being built and it's really something else. So I just want us to know that going forward, we may not have these issues because staff is working on changing the application. Instead of it just saying usage or use, it's going to say administrative process for approval or something along those lines.
It's already been changed, already been done on our online website. It's been changed to use approval process. And then you have administrative staff, conditional board. If that's not clear enough, I don't know.
So I think that's, we just know that we're being mindful of how we ended up in sticky situations or in the muddy waters that we are, because there was an intention that people out there thought it was an office building and now here's where we're at. So I do agree with you, but I just want for the record to know that we are making these changes to make sure that these things don't continue to happen.
We're taking that into consideration. And since we do have a special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board anyway, it's not like that there's room for that. So would you like to make a motion?
I do make a motion to uphold.
To uphold the appeal. A second?
Wait. Does that kick it back to?
Planning and zoning.
Sorry,
Just to clarify for the record, is the motion to send it back to planning and zoning based on a procedural issue for them to hold a new hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
At which time everyone will, it'll be new evidence available at that time. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I don't see any, they've had time to negotiate. There's no new evidence that's coming forward.
Our whole thing is to evaluate the evidence that was presented in planning and zoning, and their side didn't have a chance to present evidence because they didn't.
Passes 3-1.
Yes.
Pass 3-1. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
That was like one of the gynecologists in the downtown one day.
Do we have a motion to adjourn, Madam Mayor?
May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
By Commissioner Malika, by Commissioner Stokes. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.